Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football Position Group Grades for the Florida Gators rolling into 2025. This is one of those episodes that look, if you are a Florida fan, or even if you're just a casual college football fan that is on the fence regarding what Florida's going to be in 2025, give me 10 to 15 minutes of your time. Let the boy cook a little bit. I will have you sold on the Florida Gators in 2025 in the next 15 minutes because as you go through the position groups on this football team, you start to realize that this team's a heck of a lot more than just quarterback DJ Lagway. Now, don't get that twisted. If Florida goes out and competes for an SEC championship, makes a run in the college football playoffs, of which I think they have the roster to do in 2025, it's going to be on the back of DJ Lagway. Not enough people realize how good, but also how complete this football team is around DJ Lagway. As you're going through these position groups, you're saying, hey, where's the C position group? Where's the position group that you're grading out and saying, hey, I got some question marks about this unit rolling into 2025. They don't really have that in 2025. It's got some elite talent, starting with the quarterback and DJ Lagway, but it's also a very complete football team. That's what makes Florida special in 2025. Fired up to get into it. Before we do, and as always, the Florida fans, let it fly in the comments section. A lot of different takes that you can have regarding some of these position groups. I've been very vocal that I'm just high on a lot of these football players rolling into 2025. Hey, if you're Florida fans thinking, hey, yank the leash on me a little bit and say, hey, we're getting a little ahead of our skis here, please let it fly in the comment section. I got a lot of high grades that we got to talk about regarding this football team. Fired up to get into it. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. Number one, I'm going to go to the quarterback position, DJ Lagway. Now, can we start with something that is just frustrated me over the last couple of months with how people talk about DJ Lagway, where they just point to the completion percentage, 60% completion percentage. Look, one, he's a freshman starting in the SEC last year. He had a very, very good year as a freshman in this conference. More importantly than that, can we add some context to that completion percentage that we saw from DJ Lagway? DJ Lagway, 60% completion percentage. Yeah, his average depth to target was nearly 12 yards down the field. Graham Mertz's in 2023 was only 6.5 yards. So although Graham Mertz had a much higher completion percentage in the 2023 year, sitting at 72%, he weren't really creating any explosive plays. He weren't really pushing the ball down the field. DJ Lagway, he ain't ever going to be a quarterback that's going to be a 75% completion percentage kind of guy because he's a big-time throw maker. He wants to push the ball down the field. He had a big-time throw percentage of 8.8%. And that is nearly 1 out of every 10 throws that this cat made as a freshman in the SEC was considered a big-time throw. When people talk about the completion percentage, I think people massively miss the context around that and saying, hey, when you have a quarterback that's pushing the ball down the field like DJ Lagway, he ain't ever going to be a 75% completion percentage kind of guy. Now, that's not to say DJ Lagway doesn't have things to clean up, and that's what should excite Florida fans here is DJ Lagway was really good as a freshman. There's a lot of meat left on the bone for this cat going into 2025. If he can do some of the smaller stuff right, be a little bit more consistent in the short intermediate areas of the field, of which we know he can, there's a massive step for this kid to take going into the 2025 year. Here's the other two things I'll note. Number one, he's got the moxie. He's got the intangibles. And that there's no number to quantify that stat. It's just if you watch this kid play, you kind of feel it, even as an 18-year-old freshman in the SEC. When this kid was on the field for Florida, the offense just felt a little bit different. Not coincidentally, and I don't know if I said that word right, but I think y'all know what I mean. I don't think it was a coincidence that the players around DJ Lagway played better when DJ Lagway was on the field. Then here's the last thing. DJ Lagway as a freshman in the SEC last year, not nearly 100%. DJ Lagway is one of the better athletes at the quarterback position that we see in the country. You just go back to his high school stuff. wasn't really able to tap into his legs and athleticism because of that hamstring injury. This is a guy that if you don't want to account for what he can do extending plays or what he can do running the football, he's going to hurt you in that department as well. There's a DJ Lagway was really good. There's a massive step for him to take. This very well could look like A+ football from DJ Lagway in 2025. Number two, and again, this is where it starts getting into why I believe in this football team. Yeah, I'm high on DJ Lagway. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the best quarterback in the country in the 2025 year. Offensive line gave me an A. There's just not many offensive lines that I trust more going into 2025 than Florida. There are a couple of things that excite me. One is just the continuity, which is becoming a really important aspect for these college football programs on the offensive line. In the era of the transfer portal, so many of these offensive lines are being rebuilt every offseason, and there's so many new faces getting injected into offensive lines. Look, there's a reason Florida didn't bring in one single transfer portal offensive lineman this year because it was a really solid unit in 2024, and they pretty much just running it back in 2025. Second thing I love, the trajectory of this offensive line. This is a unit that has very clearly gotten better year over year. Hey, there are plenty of things to criticize with Billy Napier and what he's done at Florida the first couple of years. The player development, specifically on the offensive line, that ain't one of them. These cats are getting better. So you got a lot of continuity. These cats are clearly getting better on the offensive line. They're deep, man. They probably got, 8 guys that they trust to play meaningful snaps on the offensive line in 2025. That is a stark difference between a lot of other programs, especially in this conference. If you want to win in the SEC, man, you got to be deep up front. You got to have 6, 7, 8, 9 guys that you trust to play, and I think Florida has that in 2025. This should be a very, very good unit. And at the very least, it's a very reliable unit. And I don't think there's a lot of country or programs across the country that can say that about their offensive line. Number 3, and I went back and forth with this one. Florida fans, please let it fly in the comment section on this. Defensive line gave it an A-, which to me seems low when you talk about, hey, Tyreek Sapp, Caleb Banks, George Gums, I think all have a very good chance of being top 50 picks in the NFL draft. Feel damn good about Tyreek Sapp and Caleb Banks going that high. George Gums, that's a little bit of my cat and a little bit of a projection there, but I think he can be a stud. If you have that much star talent, why an A-? I just think it's the depth in the middle of the defensive line, especially with Stephon Shivers getting dismissed, especially with Dontre Robinson leaving through the portal. I'm just not sure how many big bodies you trust to play in the middle of that defensive line. You have the star talent. I think this will be a solid unit because you have some of the better defensive linemen in the sport. Are we deep enough in the middle of that defensive line to hold up in the SEC? It's the only thing that's pulling me back from giving this unit an A in 2025. If they can figure out that question, that's probably the biggest question I have for this Florida Gators football team rolling into 2025. They play a lot of good offensive lines, a lot of good football teams that are going to want to run the football. Can Florida hold up in the middle of that defensive line? Number 4, we'll go running back with an A-. Again, this kind of feels a little bit low, right? I mean, you look at Jaden Baum, what this kid was as a freshman, what he can be going into a sophomore year. Here's the thing with me and Jaden Baum. Find me another running back that has the size and physicality that this kid has, but also the feet. His ability to make people miss in short areas, really, really impressive. I think Jaden Baugh is one of those cats that just checks almost every single box that you're looking for at the running back position. And look, Jacoby Jackson, that is a quality running back too. Maybe not a running back that everybody knows across the country. I think you go know his name in the middle of October. Then Katie Daniels, a guy that we like a lot as well going into year 2. This should be a pretty good dang running back room in the 2025 year. That even seems low. Like if you get a step from Jaden Baugh, you're probably looking at one of the better running backs in the conference. It very well could be an A for Florida in 2025. Linebacker room, A- as well. Very, very good unit. And here's the thing that I want. This is it's another thing that I'm being a little bit critical here, but I think there's a step for this linebacker room to take. Now, that step very well might take place. You talk about Miles Graham year 2, Aaron Childs year 2, Pup Howard year 3. Excuse me, I get my names mixed up there. All of these kids are young that are still getting better as football players, and they got 4 guys that I think they like a lot going into 2025. I want to see them be more difference makers. I look at Miles Graham and say, what, 10% missed tackle rate as a freshman like that? Jaden Robinson, 8% missed tackle rate. Pup Howard, according to PFF, didn't miss a single tackle in 2025 before the injury, or 2024, excuse me. Really, really solid. What I'm looking for from this linebacker room is, hey, I think it's capable of putting a little bit more of a fingerprint on this football game. Can we get some linebackers that are going for 10 plus TFLs, that are firing downhill, making their plays a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage? It's a really good unit. I think it has a chance to be great. And that's why I'm going to hold it back and give it an A-. I think there's an opportunity for this unit to be a little bit more impactful for Florida going into 2025. Number 6, and this is crazy because there was a point in the offseason where we were concerned about the wide receiver room. I don't think we're concerned anymore, and it's for a couple of different reasons. Number one, I think you set yourself a nice floor. Like, right, Eugene Wilson going into year 3, fully back healthy. He's going to be one of the better pass catchers in the SEC. J. Michael Sturdivant, solid. He kind of reminds me of like the Tremere Dike or Elijah Badger edition last year, where it's just like you kind of know he's going to be really solid. I don't know if he's going to be a top 32 NFL draft pick. You feel like he's really good. And here's the other thing about him. Fits what Florida wants to do. We know DJ Lagway, he wants to throw the deep ball. J. Michael Sturdivant can work vertically down the field. So you have a nice floor there with those two cats. And then you have a, for lack of better terms, monster ceiling with Dallas Wilson. And look, I get that I'm putting a lot of expectation around Dallas Wilson. I think he's capable of it, especially after in the 2024 year, we just saw Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, Brian Wesco, TJ Moore, laundry list of freshmen have really big impacts on their teams year one. I think Dallas Wilson has the capability of doing that for Florida. So you set yourself a really nice floor here with guys like J. Michael and Eugene Wilson. There's some ceiling here. Not to mention, a guy like Aiden Mizell going into year 3. I thought you saw the light flicker on a little bit for Aiden Mizell last year. I'm a huge fan of Vernell Brown. I'd be talking a heck of a lot more about Vernell Brown if Eugene Wilson wasn't on this team. Like, I don't know if Vernell Brown's going to play a ton because he kind of has a similar skill set to a guy like Eugene Wilson. They going to get him on the field. He's too good not to play. I think Vernell Brown's a very good football player. I just don't know how much he's going to play with Eugene Wilson also in that room with the skill set he offers. It was a concern a couple of months ago. Now I think it's a weapon for Florida in 2025. Last position, I'm going to go to the secondary, and I'm going to give it a B+. That's conservative. And I think a little bit has to do with, hey, all right, Devin Moore struggled with injuries in the 2024 year, was damn good when he was on the football field, but struggled with injuries. Dejon Johnson, obviously, some of the off-the-field stuff. Not Florida fans, if you have information about not necessarily what happened, but is there going to be a suspension or anything, would love to hear from y'all in the comment section because I haven't seen anything around that. Love those 2 starting cornerbacks if they're healthy on the football field. Then you have a cat in Kermani McLean, who I was concerned about the depth at the cornerback position because I wasn't really sure what it was going to look like with Kermani McLean in 2025. My confidence is growing with this kid, and it just sounds like he's put it together. And I give Billy Napier so much credit for it. We're going to give Kermani McLean a chance. It obviously got off to a rocky start, but it sounds like everything's going really well. The longer we go through this offseason and the less I hear about Kermani McLean, the better, because that means he's just putting his head down and working. If this kid does that for a whole offseason, he's going to be a really good football player. Ben Hanks Jr. as a freshman, probably going to need to play a little bit. There are some maybe depth concerns at the cornerback position, but I think you got enough talent. And then you look at the safety spot, Jordan Castell, Bryce Thornton, about as steady as it comes. There ain't many safeties that have played more football the last 2 years than Jordan Castell. He's only going into year 3. It feels like he's been on this football team for 5 years. He got a couple of talented freshmen, man. Drake Stubbs, Lagonza Hayward. You're probably going to have to lean on those two freshmen, maybe more than you're comfortable. But I think Billy Napier sounds to be pretty damn comfortable leaning on some of those young cats early because it sounds like both of them probably ready to play relatively early. Lowest grade on this team, B+. That to me, that tells you like where this team is going into 2025. There just ain't that many question marks we have. And then they also have the star talent. There are some other teams that we think have solid rosters, but I just don't know if they have the ceiling, the firepower, you might say. With DJ Lagway at the helm, with the freshmen like Dallas Wilson, Jaden Baugh going into year two, I think this team has the firepower to go along with how complete this roster is. All right, 15 minutes almost on the dot. Did it work? Did I convince everybody about Florida? Let it fly in the comment section. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.